Today we're going to be talking about properties of equations. So using all of those properties that we had talked about in the previous video, our goal today is going to be justifying steps within solving an equation. So for today, the entire question is going to be solved for us. The entire equation is. We just have to justify the steps that have been taken in order to solve that. So things to remember. First step is always going to be labeled given. No matter what, they gave you that equation, so it's always given. Second thing to remember is to never use subtraction or division. Subtraction is an addition property, and division is going to be a multiplication property. Another thing to remember is that what is happening on the question isn't necessarily what you would have done to solve the equation, but you need to look at their work and find what the properties are. So we're going to use properties of equations to justify each step. They've given us the equation 2x plus 4 equals 10. And the next step, they didn't show their work, but the next step that they got was 2x equals 6. Well, if we were to solve 2x plus 4 equals 10, in order to get rid of this adding 4, we would need to use the inverse operation, which is subtraction. So if we subtract 4 on the left, those are going to go away, and 10 minus 4 is 6. So, whoops, first we had given, because that was given to us, and then we subtracted 4 on both sides. So you would want to say subtraction property, but remember, there's no subtraction property of equality. So that is the addition property of equality. Now we need to go from 2x equals 6 to x equals 3. Well, to go from here, we notice that we have 2x, and then there's no x's anymore. Well, what's happening between 2 and x? Those two things are being multiplied. So the inverse operation is to divide there. Now, 2x divided by 2 give us x, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Again, we used division there, but that does not mean the division property of equality. We are going to use the multiplication of equality. Multiplication property of equality. So there is our answer of x equals 3. So that's how these questions work. They give us a problem, they give us all the work, and we have to justify the steps that were taken to solve that equation. So our next question here. All right, so we have 5x minus 2 times the quantity x plus 1 that equals 4x plus 1. Well, our first step, we didn't do anything to get that. That was just given. Okay, to go from the first given step down to this next line, what's changed? What's happened? Well, automatically I noticed that this 4x plus 1 has stayed the same, so nothing happened over there. We had parentheses on the left, but they went away. Well, what property is that when we can get rid of the number in front of parentheses? That's where if we take negative 2 times x, we get negative 2x, and negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2. So there we used the distributive property. Going our next step down, 5x minus 2x minus 2 equals 4x plus 1. We're now going to change that to be 3x minus 2 equals 4x plus 1. So what changed? Well, the first thing that I noticed is that there were more terms on the left than there are now in this step. Well, we notice this 5x and this negative 2x. Those are like terms. 5x minus 2x does give us 3x, and everything else stayed the same. So the property that they used was to simplify. Again, we did combine like terms, but we don't call it that. We call it simplify. All right, next step here, we have 3x minus 2 equals 4x plus 1. The next step down, 4x plus 1 equals 3x minus 2. Well, what the heck happened there? Well, I noticed that these two things flipped sides with each other. And when things flip sides with each other, that's going to be the symmetric property of equality. Now, we are doing this step, or I'm assuming that this person did this step to get the bigger variable exponent, or sorry, not exponent, but coefficient, to be on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Okay, so that's not a necessary step, but we have to follow what this person did. All right, next step is to go from 4x plus 1 equals 3x minus 2 down to x plus 1 equals negative 2. Well, what happened? What changed? Well, the 4x became an x, the 1 stayed the same. Okay, wait a second, this 3x is totally missing. Well, how would we get a positive 3x to move to the other side? We need to do that inverse operation, which would be to subtract it. 4x minus 3x is x. We keep our 1. These will go away, and then we're left with a negative 2. Well, we subtracted 3x on both sides, so that's going to be the addition property of equality. To go from x plus 1 equals negative 2 to x equals negative 3, what changed? What happened? The x stayed here on the left. That means that we need to get rid of that positive 1 by subtracting it. Negative 2 minus 1 is a negative 3. There we subtracted, but remember, that's going to be the addition property of equality. Okay? We're going to look at one more example here like that. All right, so we're going to start off with the question, 3 times the quantity x minus 1 plus 2 equals 5 times the quantity x plus 3. Okay, they gave this to us, so your first step is given. Those should be automatic points for you. If you get a question like this, you should automatically know this first reason, no matter what, is given. All right, we're going from the top line to the next line down. What changed? What happened here? Well, I noticed right away that there were parentheses with that 3 and the x minus 1 here, but there's not anymore. So what could have happened? If we take that 3 and we multiply it into the parentheses, 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. That means that we've used the distributive property. To go from that 3x minus 3 plus 2 equals 5 times the quantity x plus 3 down to the next line of 3x minus 3 plus 2 equals 5x plus 15, what happened? What changed? Again, we're defining the property that went from here down. Okay, so this left-hand side, everything is the same. So nothing changed there. Let's look on the right-hand side. Okay, we see some parentheses, and now they're not there. What could have happened? 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 3 is 15. When we take that number and put it into the parentheses by multiplying, that's the distributive property. All right, here this person decided to keep the smaller coefficient on the left, so you don't have to use the symmetric property as you're solving equations. But to go from here down, well, right away you can notice that 3x is gone, and this 5x on the other side changed to 2x. Well, what happened? Well, if we subtract that if we subtract that 3x since it was positive, those will go away. We have negative 3 plus 2 equals 5x minus 3x is our 2x and plus our 15. So since we subtracted 3x on both sides, that's going to be the addition property of equality. All right, from here down, negative 3 plus 2 equals 2x plus 15. That 2x plus 15 stays the same, but now it's equal to negative 1. So what happened here? Well, in this case, we're going to take those two. When we put them together, that's going to be simplify. Negative 1 equals 2x plus 15. That now becomes negative 16 equals 2x. This 15's gone away. It's moved over. Since it's positive, we're going to take that and subtract 15 on both sides. Negative 1 minus 15 is negative 16 equals 2x, and the 15's go away. Since we subtracted something, we're using the addition property of equality. And that will get easier for you to remember as we go throughout these questions. All right, negative 16 equals 2x to 2x equals negative 16. What happened there? Well, they just switched sides with each other. When we switch sides, that's the symmetric property of equality. And that, so there's our property. Okay, symmetric property. From here down, 2x equals negative 16 to x equals negative 8. We just need to take that 2 and divide that coefficient out. That gives us x, and negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. Since we divided, we're using the multiplication property of equality. So just make sure you're watching for those properties using the work that the people have given you.